Welcome back if you're new. My name is Nasia, and this is my husband.
William.
And today we are doing a video about respect, specifically what respect means in a partnership. If you're new to our channel, we typically make content about mental health and relationships. Our space is designed to facilitate conversation that's not about shame, that's not about blame. It's really just about compassion and understanding how couples operate within a relationship, sharing our lived experiences, sharing tips, and all of the above. So I will not ramble. Let's get right into it. I want to start with the question, and that is, when you think about respect in a relationship, what actually makes you feel respected as a man?
A lot of that's gonna be like your actions as well as your words. What really comes to mind would be like how you speak to me, or how you even regards to me, how do you speak about me when I'm not around, right? To other people. It also could be an example of how you dress, in my opinion. I might differ for other people.
This is always like a back and forth conversation for us because I feel like I should have the autonomy to dress how I want, regardless of being connected to anybody. But it's just a sticky situation. I feel like there's so much media about women and how they dress and men's opinions, women's opinions. I don't know. I struggle with this topic. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I understand that too, because it's a tricky balance, like, of when you dress, you want to be respectful of yourself, but also you want to be uniquely who you are and dress what makes you feel comfortable and feel sexy or whatever that might be.
But
And
I think
everybody,
this is going to be a sticky way to start the video because I feel like my decision on how I want to show up in the world is my decision. It's my choice. That autonomy is mine. And it's not of your input to tell me what to wear and how to wear it. And I don't know. That's how I feel. Now, mind you, I feel like I dress quote unquote pretty appropriately most of the time, which is all relative. I don't know. This could go down a whole another rabbit hole. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, you're good. When it comes to respect, I feel like how you dress and how I dress the same way is a representation of one another. So because that is a level of respect for me.
Okay.
So like if I was to be walking down the street sagging my pants, you'd be like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Like you'd be like, he don't care about his looks or hygiene into a certain way,
Yeah.
right? And so it's like your view of how I might respect myself would be different.
Yes. I would agree with that.
So, yeah, it goes back to that for me. Let's see, what was the other question?
That was the main one. When you think about respect in a relationship, what actually makes you feel respected as a man? You talked about how I speak to you, how I speak about you when you're not around, how I show up in spaces based on what I'm wearing, how I present myself. I have another question for you. So, what are some ways men feel disrespected that women don't always realize as impactful?
I would say one of the top things would probably be like undermining them. Like, I think that a woman's tone is very important when they're speaking to each other. I feel like when respect is gone in a relationship, I feel like that is the beginning of the downfall. Because if there's no respect, that means you don't value my opinion or my thoughts, things like that. And that could be the same for you, right? I also want to address that it's important that I have respect for my woman as well, or your partner. So it goes both ways.
Yeah. I think when it comes to the disrespect and the communication, I definitely get what you are talking about in tone. Like, I can get very snippy, I guess, and short, and I've had to learn how to navigate those emotions that I'm feeling, but still present it in a respectful way. Because if you talk to me like that, you know what I'm saying? So it is
Right.
this weird balance.
Okay, so I want to ask you, what does respect mean to you?
I think for me, respect is not so much in what you say, it's in how you show up. Are you emotionally available? Are you present in conversation? Do you value my opinions and my views? How do you represent yourself when I'm there, but also when I'm not around? I think dress is such a touchy subject and topic for me because there's so much that can be associated or blamed on how a woman dresses. And I really just, I don't want to give that any attention personally for me. So I think it's not just how you dress, it's how you present yourself, how you communicate and articulate yourself, how you treat other people. Like, I value someone who's not only respectful to me, but also respectful to the people around them. Like, how do you show up in your workplace? How do you show up with your family? All of those things are a sign of respect to me. And I think, I don't know, I had to literally look up the definition of respect because I think it's just something we automatically do. I don't know, I don't really think about it, you just expect it.
Yeah, it's like one of those things where you don't have a direct definition, but you just know it when you hear it or see it, right?
Yeah.
Like it's interactional.
And I think it just, for me, it sums up in value. Do you value who I am as a person? Not just what I do, but just me in general is how I show up. And then do you accept who I am in all of the forms and shapes and seasons of just me in general? I think it goes back to that adaptability video we talked about, like how we change and how we grow and how we reshape and how our mind expands. And are you with me through those seasons, even if you don't always agree?
Yes.
Yeah, and it's I do. Are you how are you speaking about me when I'm not there? What are you doing when I'm not in the room? And what conversations are you having about me or not? Like, how are you showing up as a human being in general? I think that's my definition of respect. How has your understanding of respect changed since becoming a husband and a father?
I don't think that it's changed. I think it's become more to the forefront and more of a importance because now respect isn't only for myself, but also for you, but also for my children. And now is protection, right? Like respect is also like when I think of respect, now it has to be not only for like I was saying for myself, but for all three of us now.
So are you saying it's always been important to you, but there's more emphasis on it now that you're a husband and a father?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I was gonna say respect is one of those things that can't be bought because it's like not a monetary thing. It's one of those things that it's hard to quantify these things.
No
Like,
question. So are you of the thought process respect is earned, it's not given? Or are you of the thought process, I respect everyone until you show me a reason not to? Where do you fall?
yeah, I respect everyone until you have a reason not to, especially if it's like first interaction or until you show me different. And then if you show me differently, then I know what it is from then on out. And it's like along with your character. Once you know someone's character, then you know how they're gonna move in certain situations and whether you respect that or not, having respect for one another is, even though they may move or act differently, if I respect them as a person, human being, even though I may not agree with what decisions they make, if I respect that, that means they can do as they see fit and I can do as I see fit and we go our separate ways. So it's more so agree to disagree without there being any type of hostility or like tension between one another. If I respect my friend, even though he may have a different viewpoint, I can say, okay, I can see how you want to move or do that thing or whatever it might be, but I don't have to be a fight about it.
So
Does
you're
that
saying you still care for and will be there for that friend, but in that subject area, you just agree to disagree. So the
yeah.
respect isn't necessarily lost. It's more so like just the topics of that you agree upon or don't agree upon. Okay,
Because
okay.
there's having respect for a different man or respect for a woman. You can still respect them but not agree with them.
It's funny because I feel like I'm a little bit different. I'm always like, respect is earned. I don't know you. I don't like, there is a level of human respect. There is a level that I show up with. I'm not like disrespectful to somebody I randomly don't know, but I feel like respect is a word that is like, there's value in what you're saying. There's value in this relationship. There's a connection that should be there, and there's an investment that I'm willing to give. I feel like that holds the weight of respect for me. So I am more cautious because I don't know this person. And even if it's people I do know, I'm still on guard. But I think that also has to do with just who I am as a person. I am always more guarded. And you're so kind and so inviting. And so, like you said, somebody has to show you, they really have to prove to you that something ain't right.
As soon as I feel that way, it's
Yeah.
hard to change my mind.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's either, like to your point, either you're more giving and then don't forgive, or you earn it and it's harder to lose it.
And I think my life experiences have definitely shaped that about me. I think I used to be more giving and more like kumbaya. And now I'm like, no, I don't have time.
Yeah.
We're not doing that.
So who taught you about respect, or if it means anything?
I think growing up, I had a ton of examples of both respect and disrespect. And I don't think it's just one person. I think it came from my godparents, it came from my mom, it came from influences around me as a child. My uncles, definitely. Those adult figures all had a little bit of good to instill in me and all had a little bit of just human work. And I think a lot of, as a child, what I did was observation. And that's what most kids do. Like you're watching, you're seeing how people act in certain environments. And my childhood was very split, like just a lot of exposure and experience, both good and bad. And so I had to really learn to navigate different situations. And I think that also shaped how I am now when I say I don't just give respect, like it has to be earned. Because I think there's a lot of openness and vulnerability and just parts of showing myself to people because I think they should value or they will find this acceptance in who I am. And not everybody's like that. And so there's parts of me that I feel like I reserve and I hold until I know that I can trust this person, until I know that they're going to value what I'm going to give to them, until I know they respect what I have to offer. So I guess it's a long-winded answer to say every adult that was in my life as a kid gave me a little bit of the good and a little bit of like the improvement areas.
So how would you say that shows up in our relationship? Like, how do you?
In my communication, I've definitely had to navigate the harsh tone, the snippy sassiness in a sense of that's just who I am, but also okay, no, this isn't how you communicate with somebody that you love. I don't think it's a concern in our relationship now, but I think definitely that was one area that I had to figure out. And then I guess that's really it. Like in my communication really is how it's shown up. It is in how I present myself and how I want to be valued when I walk out into a space, not only by you, but by those that I interact with. Like we all show up in a certain way. And then how I parent my kids too. I know you talked about us, but
Yeah.
those same values that I find important, I have girls, so I have to really be mindful of what I'm saying, how I'm behaving, and what I'm teaching them.
Yeah, because like you said, to speak on our girls, they have to be respectful to adults, for example. And so they watch how we interact with other adults or other men, other women, and they do.
But also there's a line of open communication with our children. And I think that has to do with most millennial parents. Like it's not a just go hug Uncle So because that's the adult. My kids have this internal gut feeling and intuition, and I'm like, follow that. I don't care who it is.
Yeah.
You come tell mommy and daddy.
Yes.
And so there is respect that should be there, but there's also this respect for themselves. That I'm going to honor what I'm feeling, and I'm going to go tell my parents, this is not it.
Yes.
And I think that's important. I think especially having girls, especially having daughters, I'm of the belief that you raise children differently. I wouldn't raise a son how I raise my girls. I wouldn't. There's certain values they both would get, but there's certain ways that I just would raise them differently.
Yeah. Also, when you talk about having respect for yourself, a lot of times that's going to dictate how you're treated, rightfully or wrongfully, right?
Yeah.
If somebody has a certain perception of you or someone around you, that's going to dictate how they, yeah. And so if they have that respect, whether they know you or not, that interaction can either go one way or another.
Yeah, it's who you're around and how they show up also impacts how you'll be treated. I agree 1,000%.
Yeah, because there's like a saying too, right? They say if I can't love you if you can't love yourself, you got to respect yourself so you can be respected as well.
Birds of a feather flock together. That's what came
Right.
to my mind. Yeah. So I have another question. So, what's the difference between being supported and being controlled from your perspective?
So being supported versus being controlled. Support is going to be coming from love. Controlled is going to be more of out of fear, anxiety, things of that nature. Because when you're talking about dressing and all those things, if I feel like when it comes from a male's point of view, if he's trying to control what you're wearing, like every day down to a T, my personal opinion, that is controlling. And what are you fearful of? And then, but in support could be like, okay, I like the way your outfit's looking on you, or it can be said differently. But
I think that's where this specific topic around dress is triggering me because I think I view it as a control thing and I don't view it as like support. But don't get me wrong, like I understand what you mean in terms of like how I show up affects you. That's just what it is. However, I think that it can tip into control and a woman just has to be anybody in a partnership for that matter needs to be mindful of when are those controlling behaviors being disguised as I care for you, I support you, I want to make sure this and that. There has to be you in your heart and your gut. You have to listen to that intuition of what's happening in your relationship.
I think a lot of when it comes to dressing or you're wearing, it's the nonverbal communication that it gives.
But it's not necessarily, this is so tough because I feel like, yes, it
Yeah.
could be communicating certain things, but it's also perception. It's also like what someone else is creating in their mind about you. It's not necessarily that individual. Like it's how someone is twisting and contorting their view of you into their own beliefs, in my opinion, in some regard. Now, that's not to say like I'm not mindful of what I'm teaching my daughters and how they show up and how they dress, but I think there is this gray area of just let them be who they are and grow and expand and just be,
Confident,
yes,
beautiful,
yes,
all those things.
yeah.
And so I get that point and I agree with that. But at the same time, when you dress or be a certain way, it's going to come with certain realities of the way the world will look at you.
And I understand that.
How we present ourselves, either on camera, off camera, on our day to day, is going to impact how we're viewed.
Yeah. It's interesting how this conversation would have like, why is it the woman physical appearance always at the forefront of a conversation about a lot of things, but like respect? Like, why is my
Bec-
body and presentation like somebody else's?
Yeah,
So I think,
it goes back to you're a representation of me. That's my opinion. That's why. The same way I would be a representation of you.
true.
So how I physically show up and how I'm physically dressed, that's also going to send a message as well, right?
I think it's
Because
nuanced.
how many times have I picked out an outfit and you be like, what are you doing? You about to change?
True. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's okay. Like, it's one of those things where it makes sense.
Yeah. And again, I'm not saying there are certain parameters of how I like to show up and how I dress just as a individual, but I also am thinking about just women as a collective, like how that can be so triggering.
And you're your own woman, like, you're your own person. And I feel like dress style is also an expression of who you are.
Yes.
And so because of that, you need that autonomy that, like you said, not controlled. Like that wouldn't be fair to you or to that individual
Yeah.
if you're telling them what they should and shouldn't wear. So if that's important to them, and if you care enough to where you can let that go, but still have that respect for them, that's okay. Because some things may be a deal breaker for one person and may not be for another. So it's figuring out what your deal breakers are.
That's true. And it leads me to the last question I have for you. And it's if you could tell women one thing about how to show respect to a man in a healthy, emotionally safe way, what would it be?
I think it would be not holding a man's failures against him or like decision making that he's made in the past or when he's trying to better himself. A lot of times a man needs a woman to be that like safe place to be built back up, or to like at least hold him steady in the moments that he's not all the way there. So instead of holding him to the fire every time,
Which I used to do.
yeah, which I also feel like is normal, right? You're not gonna, when a man messes up or your partner messes up in a relationship, they're not gonna forget. They're gonna let you know, and that's one of the reasons why I love you. You right? You're gonna hold me accountable for what I do, but it's also, like you said, how you're doing it.
And the softness and the care, I've definitely had to learn that to show up with more care and understanding. And like you said, there is this vulnerability that we share, partners share in general, and you can't turn around and throw it in somebody's face. I think I've done a really good job. Like, I don't throw anything in your face or anything like that. But I think that's something that shows up in a lot of couples' relationships, is where a partner will disclose something in a vulnerable, safe space. And then in particular, it'll get, for a man, you get in the heat of the moment and then it's getting thrown in their face.
Yes.
And I think those moments are so impactful. Like, that breaks so much
Yes.
trust.
Because then if he can't bring that up in that situation, why would he bring anything to you?
Yeah.
Or she. It could be, it goes for both
Anybody.
sides. Yeah.
Yeah. I think this was a good talk, are reigniting some little debates that we have within our own personal life, and then also like reflecting back what we see in general. We just wanted to sit down and really talk about respect and how that shows up in partnership. As always, if you have any suggestions or any topics you want us to talk through, leave them in the comments below. And until next time.
Peace.